Hey gang, Joyce with Skipping Calves Farms here. Let's see if I can get this zoomed in a little more. Let me. There we go. There's a woodpecker over there somewhere. There's a sheep family down at the other end of the paddock down by the chickens and the water trough. There it is. Let me zoom back out. Okay. It's a blustery, warm April morning. We're right at that stage where a lot of the big trees are bare and some of them are just starting to look a little fuzzy, and it still kind of looks like winter. Well, we're supposed to get 30-degree weather here within the next week, which is going to mess up. I think that's our third winter, because we've already done redbud winter, we've already done dogwood winter. This, I think, is whippoorwill winter. Anyway, I just got kind of commissioned. I was sitting down doing something else, and the Lord kind of reminded me. The other day, these little munchkins were in here, and they got stuck in the corner right here of the sheepfold. And Mom was standing right outside, right over here, and they couldn't figure out how to get out. And I realized that they really couldn't see the wire very well. So, years ago, I had ordered some wood, and it came strapped down with these orange nylon, vinyl, whatever you call them, straps. And they look their age. They're probably 7 or 8 years old easily. If I can see through, I think it's that big sycamore tree, dead white tree right there in the middle. Here it is. I think that's what he's pounding on. Anyway, so I was thinking for the last day or so, I gotta be able to find something that'll make it a little bit more visible. And then I was thinking about the difference between poly braid and poly tape. And Greg Juji uses poly tape only on their cattle drives when they're crossing the road or blocking off a road, because it's so much more visible. And then I went looking for some old poly wire that was falling apart, and these straps I had tossed back underneath. It was stashed underneath the ramp at the back, the ramp right there at the back of. You look straight through. I can make this work. Okay, right there where the power pole is, right there at the base of that ramp, where it comes across, it was stashed right under there. It's been there for years. And I reached under there for that old poly braid, that old poly wire. That old poly wire is this nasty looking stuff that I use as a dead wire around these trees. Like that little triangle there. And right next to it with these straps. So it took me a little while to get them all straightened out and discombobulated and unknotted, and it's the old wire hooks that are a loop on a loop. Let me see if I can show you one. It's great for a tie down, but it's designed as a one-time only deal. So that's, can you see that? That's how those things look. And when they delivered my lumber, I asked the truck driver, he was going to cut it right in the middle, and I go, would you mind doing me a favor? And he said, what? I said, would you mind cutting it right at the end? And that way I've got a long loop. And he did, and I've used this for, I used it for making a hinge on my He-Man cave and a number of other things. But this is what was left. And I didn't bother to put one on those two sides for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's always, as long as I'm going to be running the sheepfold here along the perimeter fence, there's always going to be one 16-inch wall that's going to be up against, not up against, but near the perimeter fence. And it's not going to be opened or closed, and they're not going to be wanting to get near it. So, and there's going to be at most 2 doors. Like right now, a lot of times I'll have one on one side open, which I've got right there, and then one on the other side over here, which I've got set up. I don't like that 100% particularly, because that means that this this corner that is made of the 2 pieces that have hooks on both ends, that is the only panel that is not tied down with a T-post. Now, it's tied down pretty securely when it gets hooked, because there's a T-post right there by that end, and there's a T-post right by that end. And the only way they would be able to get in or get would be to get under that particular corner. Possibly. Thank God I've not had any trouble. So I just took those straps and I just looped them on. Took a little while because it's kind of tedious trying to get those sorted out and unhooked and rehooked. And then I had just a little strappy-do over here. And, you know, you can see the hair on the uprights. And so can the sheep. But that's only going to be there for a few weeks each year, because it's when they're rubbing their winter coat off. So I can just leave these straps on there. It's at an angle. It moves just a little bit, because they're not super duper tight. And the idea is, if I can get one of the little guys so they don't bang their head, then it's more than worth it. So, I don't know how sheep eyes work or colors, but I figured if nothing else, it's at an angle, and if there's a wind or whatever, it's not straight, and they're going to move. And I think most prey eyes are pretty sensitive to motion. So that's what I've been doing the last bit. I need to get that pile, that hay that was at the last over there by the nectarine. That's gotten that was put in there pretty thick as a result of the cold weather and some of that rain that we had. And so I'll probably bring some of that over and maybe cover some of that and cover this bare spot across here where the old path was. When I didn't have the sheepfold in this location, they walked, I had the alleyway pretty narrow, and you can see they wore a path through it. So but that's what I've been doing for this particular kind of crazy chore. And on this sunny, warm, early April day, and Lord willing, spring will be sprung here pretty soon. And So with that, gang, daughter and the youngsters are over there munching. I kept them out of the paddocks that they were in the last few days. Why? Because I don't want them to overgraze. So why am I having them in that other area? Because that other area is basically chicken territory. And I don't really care whether they overgraze down there. But there is a lot of area. So they're always going to be able to find a little something. They were grazing here in this paddock all morning. But this paddock does not have any shade. So when I realized the sun was coming out and it was getting a little bit warmer, that's when I let them out back down there. They still have access to that whole area down there, and most of that is in the shade. They don't seem to like to take advantage of the shade of the sour oranges. If you've seen those thorns, you would understand why. And a lot of times later in the afternoon, they'll come up, and you can see right now the trees are just starting, the shade of those trees is just starting to get here. The breeze is a little bit nicer up here, and the sheep kind of like to be a little higher. A little later in the summer when those trees leaf out, they'll have a little bit better shade a little bit earlier. That's another reason why I keep the sheepfold up here near the perimeter fence. So, trying to make do with the best I can with what I got. With that, gang, I will wish you blessings for the day, and whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream.